What is up, guys? It's Taylor here from RANKING-AfrofishOG, and today we are going to be going through a bit of a different video today. So normally I would do I was going to do one for Shay Frillis's Mario Kart Double Dash, but decided to change it up for today because I wanted to show you guys a different YouTuber instead, someone I'm going to do a reaction on. So this is Cytonox, and I believe it's two people. And both of them are both really good. They do a lot of ranking bosses and stuff. I've been watching these guys for probably about 3-4 months now, and I like the stuff that they put out. The biggest one was the Elden Ring, which I didn't realize there was that many bosses in Elden Ring, but please go check them out. So today we're going to be ranking the bosses of Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time. So from worst to best, we're going to see what they have to say, and then I'm going to give my opinions on the best ones in my opinion. So I also have it up on TikTok, so they might change a little bit. I mean, time has passed a little bit, so we'll see what we're going to do there. But as always, just to make sure to like, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell for all your viewing pleasure of my content. So, and then make sure to follow me up on social media as well, my TikTok, my Twitter, all that other stuff. It will be down in the description below. One last thing, I'm still working with the audio and stuff, so forgive me if things kind of get a little wonky. But with all that being said, let's get on with the video.
I'm Alex from Cytonox, and I think I might have strep throat, so if I sounded all different, that's why. A few weeks ago I went over the dungeons of Ocarina of Time and detailed my various praises and woes. Today I have come to do the same thing.
So just to get through, I probably will be doing the other one of them because I'm really interested to see what they have to say with the Ocarina of Time one. So I probably will do the bosses this time and then the dungeons as well. So we'll see how it goes.
With regards to the bosses, given it was the first 3D Zelda game, one might anticipate them being flat or rudimentary, but honestly they weren't all that different from the stuff we see in later Zelda games in a practical sense. As with most games, we've got some gems and some coal to sift through. Whilst I take you all on this journey, I would like to remind you all that our efforts are backed by our beloved patrons who keep us off the streets with their generous support of our channel. If you guys want to keep us making videos instead of picking pockets with organ grinder monkeys, consider dropping some change in the digital bucket. Anyways, that's all for the usual due process. Let's get into the rankings. Gather round, everybody. I have a brief little story for you all. One day when I was in 6th grade, my English class assigned me to write my own 3-page font 12 alternate ending to the book The Tale of Despero, about a princess and a mouse who did a thing that I forget. Not important. What is important is that the alternate ending I submitted was a half-a-page font 18 account of the titular mouse joining ISIS, hiding inside a bowl of soup, and then suicide bombing the princess once she had unknowingly swallowed him along with a spoonful of said soup.
Don't look at me. I got nothing.
I was then sent to the counseling office to be interrogated on whether or not I was being groomed by an online terrorist cell. All this hassle, and to think it was because King Dodongo had planted the idea of putting bombs and bellies in my cognition. Unlike the human princess, who was instantly vaporized into gore chunks after a single measly bomb, King Dodongo arbitrarily takes 2 whole bombs before he keels over and bites the dust. I always find it really funny when powerful fictional beings take some set amount of being attacked by the same thing to die. Do you think if we dropped nuclear bombs on Goku over and over, he'd die after warhead number 512 or something? Who could say? However many it took, I'd be willing to bet it would be more entertaining than fighting King Dodongo, who is the boss fight equivalent of like Superman or chicken tenders.
I'll wait till he's done.
Or anything made by Maroon 5 after songs about Jane. You might have been tipped off by the repeating footage, but this fight is over in seconds if you know how to handle him. King Dodongo is a pathetic but inoffensive speed bump that I could probably kill in real life with minimal difficulty and absolutely kill in a video game with no difficulty.
So, yeah, that was something that I wasn't, I don't know. I'm just gonna move on.
Morpha feels like it was put in the game because somebody paid Nintendo $5,000 on Kickstarter. It is a genuine contestant for least interesting boss design ever. Oh, we need a boss for the water temple? How about a bunch of fucking water? Thunderous applause breaks out throughout the office. Somebody goes out to fetch a cake and Aonuma treats the team to a fancy steakhouse dinner. There's no inkling of a threat here because Morpha is restricted to the easily avoidable pool of water and the meager reach of its tentacles. Even if it did hit you, why does it hurt? It's fucking water, dude. Man up and rub some dirt in it. Let's not mince words. This fight is just standing around until Morpha sticks his little wet wiener out for you to penetrate with a hookshot and drag out his singular nut for some busting. If this is your cup of tea, then good on you. You have a bright future playing Stardew Valley clones and Animal Crossing ahead of you. Be sure to tell me what skydiving down from outer space was like later, you ravishing daredevil.
Oh, I needed a laugh today. You know what? It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. We'll see what he has to say. It's fine.
The Zelda series is known for its plethora of mysteries, many of which have been discussed by fans in theory videos and the like. We've all seen questions like the relationship between Hyrule and Termina and the identity of the Toilet Hand, but there's one that doesn't get enough focus. Who the hell was banging Twinrova to make Ganondorf? Is this guy fucking 20 feet tall? Was it some little dude on a ladder? Hell if I know. What I do know is that this fight is massively overrated and not nearly as engaging as people seem to remember. I myself recalled it being pretty rock solid, but upon replaying it I came to find that it was a slog of a waiting game that rivals the fishing minigame. While the first phase is good, it's just a prelude to the real bulky portion. Reflecting enough elemental death beams forces the two hags to form into a big hag. This new form, much like Madonna, seems to have delusions of sex appeal based on the suggestive wink she tosses at Link before getting back to killing him. Now you're in for the real fun. You gotta gather 3 consecutive blasts of the same energy type to fire it back in her face, which takes way longer than you'd expect based on that descriptor. In the time it took her to fire 3 fire blasts, I could have finished that Mario Galaxy 2 video we keep promising you guys exists. The gameplay speaks more to my feelings than words ever could. There's no need for me to beat a dead horse.
Goma being up in 7th is very interesting to me. Like, Twinrova, yeah, I guess I kind of can understand. I still had her up higher, but I'm also using based off of what I remember. So, yeah, I mean, number 8 might be pretty good.
Boy.
Then again, I could also be just thinking with my dick.
This is another fight that takes me back. The year is 2011 and my dad has just moved in a crappy new apartment. My first night there I decided to take a shower as one does, only to find a colony of jumping creepy crawlies that looked rather Goma-esque hanging out in the bathtub. I read somewhere that bugs like to hang out in warm dark spaces and my mind immediately shot to the horrifying conclusion that they were all hell-bent on leaping into my anus and nesting in there. I was too grossed out to touch them with my bare skin in any capacity, so I had to find all these weird ways of killing them each time before getting in. I found that the water pressure was insanely high, so I could turn the shower head onto max heat and then move it around to hose them all to death with boiling water. As it turns out, this process generally would take more time than my usual run-in with Goma lasted. Either Goma is a pussy or I should have invested in a slingshot. Whichever it may be, I'll go on the record saying that while Goma isn't around for a long time, it's a pretty good time all things considered. I'll take it over the boring Grum Grum lower on the list, that's for sure. Surprise, you all probably thought I hated this boss based on how I alluded to it in the dungeon ranking video. Yes, it is definitely the most confusing boss in the series, and perhaps most confusing boss I've ever fought, period. Baronade evokes the same feeling in me as the dreams I get when I accidentally fall asleep for an hour at 6 p.m. The design philosophy behind this fight is to video games what Eraserhead is to cinema. If you don't own the game or want to pay for Nintendo's borderline extortion tier online service, you'd be able to replicate it by popping a bunch of Benadryls and walking into an aquarium with a frisbee. Basically, Baronade is a massive mound of flesh and jellyfish that resembles a shaved scrotum. You can hit it with the boomerang, which sometimes works but usually doesn't. When you do bring it to a standstill, attacking the obvious red weak point with your sword electrocutes you and sends you flying backwards. So, what do? Fuck if I know, I just kinda threw random bullshit at it and eventually decided it had enough and shriveled into red chunks. While the design philosophy is hopelessly unclear, sometimes it's fun to be a little confused. As the old saying goes, something, it's about the journey, not the destination. Yeah. As a kid, I once dyslexically misread his name as Volvagina. I thought that was really funny. I still think that's really funny. The more things change, the more they stay the same. For what is essentially a game of Whack-A-Dragon, this fight is pretty damn entertaining. For that, I credit the Megaton Hammer. What an awesome fucking weapon. This thing has serious oomph. Whenever I land a hit with it, I can practically hear the bone shattering right in front of me. Music to my ears. Whenever he isn't letting you bust his skull open with a hammer, Volvagia is cruising around and breathing fire at wherever you were 20 seconds ago. It is, as one might predict, not terribly effective, but it adds to the atmosphere so he can get a pass on that critique. It's still enough to be a threat to Goron, supposedly, which is not much of a credit to their already minimal mental capacities. It must be some hot fucking fire though, considering Goron's bathe in magma and stuff. That's a good phrase to sum this fight up. Hot fucking fire. I dig it. Good stuff.
I love that. I love that. Oh, Bongo at 4? Huh. Okay. Oh, alright. Okay.
God bless the people who designed this game. If you asked me for a list of names befitting a hypothetical boss of a place called the Shadow Temple, I'd be tossing down stuff right out of a Lovecraft novel. Gar al Sonarath and the like. I don't think I'd get to Bongo for quite a while, at least page 3 or 4. This may come as a shock, but he does in fact fight you on a giant pair of bongos, an instrument that is apparently a symbol of evil, bloodshed, and terror in Hyrule. Just as one does when one sees a bongo player in real life, your first course of action is to shoot him in the hands until they're unusable. This is made more difficult by the fact that his bongo playing sends you flying around like an infant on a trampoline, but that isn't to say this fight is going to be giving you a run for your money. It's really fun whenever Zelda games have bosses that you fight by actually shooting them with arrows and stuff, which is about as engaging as the combat ever gets. You can make this fight trivial by aiming with Z-targeting, but I think it's best done the old-fashioned way. Once that's all taken care of, it's just a matter of seeing his invisible head with the lens of truth and shooting when you see the not very white of his eye. Boasting both fitting dungeon item usage and faster than usual combat, Bongo is a certified Zelda boss classic.
I'd put that on my list. I like that one.
I know what you might be thinking. Ganondorf, a fight almost entirely consisting of reflecting projectiles, is number 3. Twinrova, a fight almost entirely consisting of reflecting projectiles, is number 8. Is this cognitive dissonance? No, far from it. Let's get the obvious out of the way first. Ganondorf is miles cooler than Mommy Dearest. When you walk in on most villains hanging out in their secret chamber, they're usually sitting in a throne brooding or in the midst of operating some world-ending mechanism or apparatus or whatever. Ganondorf, however, is just playing some evil-ass tunes on an organ because he can. What a badass. This fight is generally described as energy ball tennis, and so far to date nobody has ever thought of a better term to describe it. This projectile reflecting, unlike Twinrova's passive, boring, hold the shield button methodology, is incredibly active and demands pretty solid timing to pull off. By the end of the volley, these orbs are flying around at speeds that would make Babe Ruth shit himself in terror. Once you get him on the ground, he dies pretty quick, but the atmosphere and fun reaction-based back and forth are enough to guarantee this penultimate showdown a bronze medal at the very least.
Ooh, oh yeah. Oh yeah.
And so it is that Ganondorf...
Oh boy, before I even jump into this thing, I'm going to let you know right now, Phantom Ganon is that G. I love Phantom Ganon. He is that G. I love Phantom Ganon so much.
Is shown up by his own Phantom. A tad embarrassing things. That'd be like if I scripted a video using ChatGPT and it ended up becoming my most successful video. Phantom Ganon is one of the most interesting bosses in the series to me. The concept is just so original that I can't help but swoon. A guy in a painting running at you. Kick ass. You may not all think it, but I'm actually quite a sophisticated appreciator of the arts. I was just downtown in DC visiting the National Gallery this last Thursday, where there was an exhibition of works inspired by Dante's Inferno. My entire mom's side of the family are artists, so I suppose it's in my blood. Phantom Ganon is very interested in spilling this blood of mine, and compared to the rest of his comrades, he's got a better chance at pulling it off than the rest of them. When he's off having his fun inside painting land, your best bet is to just spin around like a drunk and pray you catch a glimpse of him rolling up on you. This is easier said than done, because he likes to fake you out and doesn't even give you enough time to turn around and shoot the real one. Whenever you do finally drag him out of there, he instantly starts sending energy balls at you because, I mean, what did you really expect from this guy? Ganon was a bit of a one-trick pony in the early days, wasn't he? He looks cool as hell and is the only boss who gets special death narration from the big man himself, so it's hard not to single this out as one of the coolest and most memorable fights Ocarina of Time has to offer. No surname necessary, it's just Ganon, motherfucker. The darkness in this fight is super cool. You can barely even see what he is, at least on the N64 version. You just have this impression of an enormous, vaguely hog-like behemoth. Before the fight even begins, he knocks the Master Sword away, which is a pretty big problem if you didn't make the big Goron sword like I generally do. You can still hit his tail with a Megaton hammer, but that's some goofy Tom and Jerry shit if you ask me. While you're at it, you might as well mod the game to replace bombs with TNT and the iron boots with an Acme anvil. Jokes aside, his sword strikes hit like freight trains, and combined with Zelda's weirdly realistic-sounding shriek of despair, they really set the mood for the kind of fight this is. I must admit that this gameplay is intentionally a little sloppy because they wanted to show off how intimidating it would be in theory. In practice, he's pretty easy to kill without taking a single hit, but this is one of those times where the difficulty is barely even relevant to me in the quality discussion. If you're playing Zelda for difficult boss fights, I don't even know what to tell you, man. Anyone who makes it to the final boss with that mentality is a booger-munching clod. There's just...
So I'm not a booger munching clod, but he's absolutely correct. A lot of these bosses are not difficult.
No other explanation. Difficulty or lack thereof be damned. This fight has a cool as hell atmosphere and is in my eyes the best of the bunch in Ocarina of Time. Thanks so much for watching, and we hope you enjoyed. With Tears of the Kingdom right around the corner.
Alright, so we're going to end it there early, but for the most part, there's some that I'm not as big on, I'm not going to lie. But I will show you guys what my list is for the best ones here, coming right up.
I've been trying to...
So, as you can see, mine is obviously different. By my bottom tier, I have Baronade, because I just think it's gross and ugly, and I didn't like the fight. And these are all from memories also as a kid as well. And Morpha, which I just hate Morpha. I think it just is stupid. Now, the only reason I put King Dodongo up there is because I love dinosaurs. So I was gonna put that up there anyways. And Goma because it's a starter boss. Ganon and both of it are both B tier. They're both good fights. I'll put I might change my mind on that when I go to replay it again. I don't know exactly when, but I'll definitely replay it again. But I'll probably change that up. Right now I do have Vivalgia. I love Vivalgia. I think just between the design and just the boss fight, I always thought was super cool. Bongo Bongo was probably arguably one of my favorite bosses. And then and Phantom Ganon as well. But then Twin Rova is definitely up there as my favorite of all of them. Like I said, I was a kid at the time. I thought they were really cool. What I also loved about Twin Rova too, not the fact that they just go make giant mommy version of whatever, but it's also the fact that I love how they kind of just mess with you the entire time. Like the fact that you actually see them and are like they feel like characters. They feel more than just set up bosses. They're the bosses, but they're still messing with you the entire time. And I love that. I think I love that the most of all of them. And I think that's what put them up there for me. That and when they merge. But but still, that's what I have for mine. But, man, I wish I had more to say about it, but I love their videos. If you get a chance, go check them out. I'll make sure to put their name also in the description as well. With all that being said, I'm Taylor from AfrofishOG. Check me out on the socials as well. My TikTok's usually pretty live. And I'll talk to you later.